we have positive things from refugee camp, like telling the world that this is who we are, and not everyone in a refugee camp can tell their story. So I feel great, like being a voice to the voiceless.
It's like that light in the morning when the sun rises. It shines a lot and it kind of like illuminates all of the area. So by telling one story, I'm able to shine a light on that person. That's what I love about telling story. I kind of feel like I've brought someone from the dark and I've brought them to the light.
Good afternoon, everyone. First, before we begin, I'd like to apologize for our technical issues. We've got everyone sort of remotely, and I hope our audience is still with us. So we're half an hour late into this panel discussion where we will be discussing the future of African women in the media. This is a FilmAid Kenya's production. We are celebrating our student exhibition for 2020. And we have a great selection of panelists who've been waiting here for about half an hour. So we're going to just jump into it. Before I begin, my name is Natasha Elkington. I will be your moderator for this 1 hour session that we are going live on YouTube and different social media channels like Facebook, which I hope is working right now. So the theme of this year's exhibition and film festival is the visions of the world we desire. And just for some of you who don't know about FilmAid Kenya, FilmAid, it's a humanitarian communications organization that harnesses the power of film and other media to produce and disseminate life-saving information to refugees and other marginalized communities. So welcome to this session. I'm looking forward to having a great discussion about women in the media. And first, I think it'd be great if all our panelists will introduce themselves, and then we'll get into it. So I think first we'll start with Betty Katungu, who's a film director with FilmAid Films. So maybe just do a few minutes to introduce yourself. As you know, our time's a bit tight.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Betty FilmAid. I'm a film producer. Natasha, not a director. Directing is a tough job.
Producing, pardon me.
I'm a producer. I work at FilmAid Films. I consider myself a storyteller, and I'm currently on location in Embu, making what is going to be, I think, my 6th feature film. And yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you, thank you. So why don't we go next to Natasha Webb?
Yes, thank you so much. My name is Natasha Webb. I'm the protection manager for DRC here in Kakuma refugee camp. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak to you, and I hope that you're going to learn a lot from this session and let it be interactive. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hi, go with Lusala, and the gentleman will go with you, Victor, last to introduce yourself. For Victor.
Good afternoon. I'm Lisala Selenga Alphonse. I've been an actress since 2015 and currently an aspiring filmmaker. I'm from Kakuma refugee camp. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Lisala. And Victor?
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. My name is Victor Ndulla. I'm an editorial cartoonist, comic artist, comic journalist. Very passionate about telling our story, our way, through our art. I'm really glad to be here. I hope to have a pleasant, interactive discussion about our topic of the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. So I guess what I wanted to start with was I wanted to get an overview of the landscape of women working in media, and I thought we'd start with Betty Katungu just in case Embu Network decides to cut us off. So we'll just get you involved. This is why our technical issues were this morning. So maybe you could just give us like an overview of the landscape of women who work in media. How are you seeing it? Are African women being well represented, underrepresented? Is there a balance? Have we got a long way to go? What's your take on what's happening in the present situation?
First of all, what I would say is that there's no balance. There's no balance. Definitely more men than women in media in Africa. And for me, I find that really it's not right, because the women that are in media in Africa are excellent. They're always in the pursuit of excellence. pursue excellence relentlessly, and when they hone their craft and they succeed beyond expectations, you know, it just shows that when a woman puts her mind to something, and this is now media we're talking about, they do it. There's no mediocrity. So one, I don't think there is enough representation. It's not even, and that's a sad thing, because then the excellence that women would bring into this profession, the profession suffers the more for it. You know, that's the landscape. I think if we look at the people that in this country, we have great media personalities from women. We have so out of the country. We have one of the names off the top of my head, but we have people who have gone out of the country and become very successful at their ladies. And the ones that work here, when you think about, you know, Victoria Badiri, Julie Gishuru, and filmmakers that we have, I mean, most producers are women, you know?
Right. Most producers are women.
Yes, absolutely. I think 80% of film producers are women, you know? 80% men, women. So yes, the representation is not fair, and we are lonely. We feel lonely. So we'd like the rest of the class to join us. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think, you know, also what you're saying, just to summarize, basically, you know, we're underrepresented. We're not, you know, there's no balance. And also the jobs that we're doing, it's more producers rather than even camera women. Like, you know, I'm a camera woman too. So when I went to shoot the other day to film something, people were shocked, like, who's, you know, coming with, but we can carry cameras. We're strong enough, I think, to do that. We need, so it's possible, right? So I think the question is, you know, how do you see this changing? Do you see it changing though? So even though we're underrepresented, how do you see it going? Do you think it's changing, that there is room for change, or are we still, you know, a lot of things need to change for it, you know, for this balance to come in?
You know, now that you mention it and we're having this panel, it sparked me to think about something. I wish someone would come up with a structured mentorship program, so that we can have people like you who are camera woman. If someone comes up with a structured mentorship program where we actually go out and make a call out for more women to come and join the media. We go to film schools like what you're doing at FilmAid, and we just have it.
You're breaking up. Sorry, my dear. Betty, okay, I've lost you.
Properly structured. Maybe some.
Okay, sorry, we're losing you with your. You're back on now. Yes, we lost you at the structured mentorship program.
Yes.
That's a good idea. Okay, Betty, because we're
change because.
Okay, Betty, I'm just going to move to Natasha Webb while yours stabilizes, and then we'll come back to you for that, right? Natasha, because we discussed yesterday on our pre-test run about, you know, you had really amazing things to say about, you know, women in the media. So maybe just feed us, you know, what your comments and your, and then we'll jump from there, because it, I think, relates to what Betty was saying.
Yes, you know, we have this negative gender stereotyping that makes women not being able to participate fully, either in media or even in our social lives. So the role of film in this is that it can be used to expose people on this, to teach people, and to change attitude of people towards this negative gender stereotype. Yeah. So one way that film can do this is by actually exposing those subtle gender stereotypes. For example, in occupation, whereby you find even the man and a woman in the same job position, but the woman is being paid less because they are seen as they work less hours, especially because they are eventually going to go, let's say, for maternity leaves, and maybe 1 or 2 times in the month, because of the usual menstrual period pain, you take 1 or 2 days off. So all this is put together, and people feel that, oh, women work less hours, women are weaker than men. So the types of positions that they get and the amount of money paid becomes different even for the same type of job. Then, for example, also in the courses that are offered even in colleges, in schools, you realize that in maybe some secondary schools for boys, they offer courses like engineering, metal work, carpentry. But in girls' schools, they offer languages like German, French, stuff like that. I haven't seen like electrical engineering class being offered in a secondary school for girls. most of the time. So this actually creates the trajectory of someone's life, how they're going to end up. Some girls would love to do carpentry. Some girls probably have like apprentices. They have been apprenticeship from their fathers who are carpenters, and they've grown up doing it, but they're not given that opportunity to explore that talent further. It ends there in secondary school when the courses are predetermined that you can take. And also, and this doesn't only affect women, the negative gender stereotypes doesn't only affect women, it also comes to affect the men in the sense that they are supposed to maintain this level of masculinity whereby they shouldn't cry, they cannot show their emotion. The society expects them to look in a certain way. So you realize most of them suffer in alone. There's a lot of them who go into depression. If they encounter certain diseases, they cannot go to a hospital and say, this is what I'm facing. So it's actually a challenge all around. And film can actually do a lot to expose this, a lot to change this kind of attitude, a lot to teach us on especially exposing them so that at least we can be able to see these things are there. What can we do that? How can we change it? And also the media can be used to demystify the gender roles that are there. It's not, nowadays, even men are the best chefs. If we have film that portrays women as a foreman, most of the movies I've watched, you always end up seeing that guy who comes with the yellow cap and the plans. Most of them are men. So where are the women here? What do women have to do to get to that kind of position? So there is a gap there, and film can be used to demystify all this and put women in such roles to show that yes, women can also do A, B, C, and D that men can also do, and vice versa. We see nowadays men also taking up being a beauticians. When you go to a salon nowadays, you see men. But then this is in the urban areas. In the rural areas, that's a different conversation to have. So in as much as we're seeing a change, it needs to trickle down also to the rural areas to give more people the opportunities, yeah? Because not everyone is in the urban area so that they can be exposed and get the opportunity to do these things. Even in the rural area, we need to expand the choices that people have. Yeah, and yeah.
No, that's a lot. That's a lot of fodder. Yeah, there's a lot to discuss there actually, because you're talking about basically our cultural. It's our culture, which is, I guess, one of the hardest things to change in a society. Because it goes back traditions and years. How to change how we look at each other. And then you've also touched on the fact that even education, the courses, they're deciding, how men should work and what women should do, where that doesn't make sense. So already, that's ingrained, and you're saying subtle in our education system. And then, you're saying, and I agree with you, just using film to demystify all this. So even programming, like a KBC or, local programming, we need to show films in those areas which can reach, rural areas, to start now changing these. We have traditions. Some of them worked because they worked at that time, but right now it doesn't work in this time. So everyone needs to kind of grow together and change. So I'm going to, I guess, from there, maybe pass it on to maybe Victor, because I think you said something really good yesterday about balance, and then the Salem idea you would bring you on to kind of, we'll tackle you there. Yeah, and you can go after Victor. So Victor, what's your take on it as the only man representing your peoples right now? Like, what's your take? Yeah.
It's an interesting position to be in, because we're talking about women in media, and I'm obviously a man, but I've had the privilege of being in a newsroom for quite a number of years, I think a decade over. And what's interesting is that I think 4 out of my 5 of my editors are 4 are women, and the expectations that the newsroom had of them were the same that they would have of men. And I was very impressed, because then I would interact with them, and I would find that they rose through the ranks. They carried the camera just like you did. They went and covered riots just like many men do. And so for me, the flip side of this is yes, we have issues, and I have to admit that they haven't been having it very easy. but there's tremendous change, I dare say. In the past 10 years, a lot of women are coming up in media and holding their ground. And I'm really impressed, because when you converse with them and they're able to articulate issues, there's no issue of this a male editor and this a female editor. And the other thing that I feel is very critical, why we need to have women coming up and taking these positions, is then we get to get some form of balance in the newsroom, because there's a way that a man would say something, and there's a way that a woman would articulate a point, and we need to hear both voices. It's very important, because for the longest time we've always had men.
Oh, Victor, I think we lost you for a second. Victor, okay, so we've just lost him. We'll let him. Oh, Victor, we just lost you there for a second.
Okay, but I can hear you.
Okay, can you hear me? Yes, you were saying it's been, yes, men. You were coming up with a very good point.
Yeah, I was saying that for the longest time it's been men.
Oh, it's gone again. It's gone again. We've lost you again.
Okay.
Let's try that again. So whatever, yeah. So men.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can.
Yeah.
We have to hear what you want to say. So.
Okay.
Yes, tell us, men. What about men?
Yes. So we've always had men articulating male issues and female issues, and there's an obvious lack of balance there. We need both sides to say and articulate these issues. I think that's very critical, especially because news and media, they really shape opinion. And you have to have a balance in the way we even shape opinion and articulate very pertinent issues. So yes, so we've come a long way. We're not yet there, but I'm a hopeless optimist. I think there's hope that the tables, that there'll be equity,
right,
as opposed to equality.
Yes, I think that's the thing, because I mean, you know what, Lisala, go ahead, jump in.
Actually, there's something, I want to go back to the point Natasha Webb said. She used an example where she said in films, the men are more represented as the heroes, or there's a way the females are portrayed. The way the females are portrayed in the movies, it brought me back to the point I read earlier. It said, the media we create reflects the world we live in. So how these females are portrayed in these movies reflects how the life we live in. The challenge goes now to us filmmakers, and mostly female filmmakers. What can we do about this? What can we do to change this? Why don't we make films and movies? Why don't we make drawings like Victor to portray the strong, the other side of women, not the weak side that everybody is portraying nowadays?
Great. So are you planning to do this? Like, I'm hoping.
Yeah, I'm motivated right now.
Yeah, it's time, man. Here, bring it on. Like, we have to change how women look. And I think when we do change that, online, then everyone starts to see us differently, not in the same stereotypical way that everyone believes we should be, in the kitchen, that old way. And, we are 50% of the population, firstly. In the workplace globally, it's 2 to 1. And even in Kenya right now. So that does, balance needs to come. So the equality isn't there yet. It is changing. And then I also read some notes about, with Kenya, the literacy rate in Kenya is 80% women are the same as men. So it's just as equal. But then when it gets to the workplace, it changes. Anyone want to jump in? No, because to add to that, go for it.
Yeah. Yeah. I wanted
you go next.
reinforce the point that Lisala has talked about representation. Film isn't always about entertainment, And when it comes to representation, film should be used to represent the society in which someone lives in. Things are not always going to be all rosy and colorful with manicured lawns and all that. So when we are casting, are we representing the community? Are we representing everyone that lives in that community? Are we making it possible that when we're casting, we include people who are able differently? because we could find them also very good actors and actresses, and they can portray their own issues even better. Are we giving them that space to be able to showcase what they can do despite being able differently? And then also the minorities who live among us, how are we representing them? How are we listening to their voice? I believe the media can be used as a tool to ensure that everyone's voice is heard and that we represent, it is representative to what is in the society. Thank you.
Very true. Great. Risala?
Oh, she's just put it up.
Okay. She just said it. Everything that you wanted to say.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, I totally agree. And I think, Victor, we were kind of having like, I'd like to see your take about, we have to focus down, like the theme of this is, the role of African women in the media, not just women. So now we've got women who are already struggling, but now we're talking about the African women in the media in Africa and globally. There's that also another story. Like how do you see that? But before I do that, I just wanted to tell our audience, if you guys have questions, send them in. We're happy to take them and to share with our panelists. So if anyone's still watching, because we were half an hour late, please do send in your questions. Anyway, Victor, please, what's your take about African women in the media? How?
Thank you. I've had privilege to do a bit of traveling and meet African women in media. It was a very eye-opening encounter. And I'm going to share a couple of names. They could be very ambiguous names, but if you get to understand what they've done and what they've influenced, then it makes sense. There's a lady called Ala Satir from Sudan, and her art was being used as part of the revolution that toppled Bashir. Then there's Nadia Hairi, also from Tunisia, and her cartoons were very powerful. And she used to portray the power that be as cats, and it was so powerful that a lot of revolution, that when people used to go out in the streets, they used to carry pictures of the cat, and it was very representative of what was happening in Tunisia at that point in time. There's
Oh, we lost you. We've lost you. Victor? Okay. Okay, we've lost him. Okay, so oh, you're back.
Sorry for that.
Sorry. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Okay. Sorry. You're on a good track. I didn't want to interrupt this.
Okay.
Carry on.
Yeah, and there's a lady called Antelanaise in America. Sorry, in Africa. There's a lady called Yemi in Ethiopia, and she articulates a lot of social issues with her art. So these are just could be just names, but you can see the impact that they're having in their societies and in their cultures. And let's remember that some of these societies and culture do frown upon art in the first place, and sometimes they frown upon women being in art. But the impact is there. They've been able to overcome and do a lot of things and move the masses. So there's space if you're passionate as a woman, there's space if you're able to articulate some of these issues with impact. And it's been seen, it's been documented. So it's happening. So much has been done by these very passionate women, and it can be spoken of that they're not just sitting back and saying that let men do it. They're actually in the front line with their art and their media.
Great. Thank you for that. I think that's true. I think, like the point you make is that we can say a lot of things through art without saying a lot of things, like it gives us, an opening to express ourselves, but without even offending anyone, or, like we can tell stories. It's about showing to change,
Yes.
Showing stories, right? Where we can change things. I don't know if anyone wants to jump in on that. No, we're good. Okay, fine. So I guess we can just carry on with our other other questions that we had here. With Lisala, for me, the attitude also has to change for the men in the field, right? If we're talking about media, which is mostly like it's 2-to-1. But the attitudes also on the field, like within it shouldn't be that women have to fight for their rights to be respected in media, where it should be also men should be opening up too, right? To the fact that we need this space. We by having both representations of our population telling stories, then we're telling a more truer story of what's happening, because we're telling you from the eyes that from two different eyes. Does anyone have anything to add to that? About in the field, like what have you experienced when you're as a filmmaker, when you're in the field, working with, men in there? What's the attitude on the ground? What's your experience?
That's my experience in the field. I remember you just shared a story where you went in the field and the camera and the people are looking at you like, whoa. I had one experience, I think it was last year. I went to an event and I was trying to take a picture of someone. And surprisingly, it's not just the men who have this belief that women in the field, but also our fellow women. Mm-hmm. It's not just the men who need to change that, but also us within us ourselves, we need to work on that. And this woman was like, oh, hey, I stood right in front of her like, oh, hey, come, calling to another male. You can imagine, like, I felt, wow. So I took a breath back and I was like, okay, wow. So why couldn't she allow me take her picture? She had to call my male companion to come take her picture. Like, what picture did that portray? Like, what message did that send me? That as much as times are changing and stuff, the fact that we need to prove ourselves, we need to work 10 times harder, 50 times harder, is still there. Now, what can we do to bring this change? What can we do to fasten the pace of this change?
But for example, like you could make a new film now of like, a full-on female crew going out there exactly. from the village, so that they can see that this is a new, it's not only men that can do these works. Like we said to Natasha's point, right? This where our traditions and cultures come from is rooted down there. And that's actually where we need to go and change mindsets, right? Oh, we lost Natasha. What do you think, Lisala, Victor?
That's a very pertinent point. But the advantage of my line of work is we present a portfolio. Let's say we present artwork, and the artwork does not say, unless the artist signs, then you can see it was done by a woman. So for me, we all need to arrive at a point where we judge an artist, somebody in media, by the content they produce, as opposed by their gender. I really don't think it should be an encumbrance. If you're in a position to hire two artists, you'd hire with the one with the best work, not the one who's male. That's changing, and we have I'm sorry to say very few female cartoonists in Kenya, or artists, but those that are there are exceptional. They're excellent. We actually sometimes compete for jobs and they win. So again, like I say, there's hope, and based on presenting your work, sometimes it really goes beyond gender. They won't care if you're a woman or a man. They'll say, I want this one because her work has passion in it and represents what you want to communicate, and it's better than the male counterparts. And that for me is a win, because then the competition is getting stiffer right now. The same old names are being maybe upstaged by newer entrants who, some of them are female.
Great. I mean, just to add to that point, I mean, it wasn't only until just recently that women used to have to write under a pseudonym for them to get books published. I mean, it was just, when we talk about time, it was just the other day, So
exactly.
Right? So we do have a long way to go, but the way doesn't have to be long. It can, like if we all, like between men and women within ourselves, even how we work with each other. See, that's the other issue that I find that comes up. Is because now women are always trying to, because we have to prove ourselves to get to these positions of power, leadership, or, out in the field with your camera and everything. So you're, battling, like you're in the army, right? Like you have to prove yourself. But then when you're there, and I find, it happens in, where women rise to levels, but then when they get there, they forget they're women. They become like men. So then, then they don't treat, then again, we're doing the same story again. The cycle continues. So I think when women go into power, positions of leadership, they have to also change the mindset up there, where we do things differently now, where women need to be included in the conversation, so that even when women do get in positions of power, they also change the way things are done up there, because it has to trickle down to all of us. It can't just be you fought all the way to get there and then now you're there and it's comfortable. It's not, because there's a lot of us who still are trying to get to where we need to go. Anyone jump in?
Okay, patriarchy plays a very big role in how men and women live, how they behave, and eventually the types of courses that they will end up doing and the type of work they'll end up doing. For example, like Lisala has said, a woman saw her taking a photo and she was shocked. It's like, she's not supposed to be doing that. So this woman, imagine her raising a child who says, I want to be a photographer when I grow up. So the exposure of parents is also very important, that they guide how children take up certain courses, certain roles, and they also encourage what a child would end up being. So you realize a parent who was a teacher would end up encouraging their children to go into this line of work. And a parent who's a teacher means that they've already gone through school and they're a little bit open-minded, and they would encourage a child to take a course like being a lawyer, a doctor, and all that, because they see that is the only job that is worthy of their child. But a child coming to tell you that I want to be a dancer, your parents are going to say, what kind of job are you going to be doing? As they look at the kind of income that you can get, they look at the sustainability of that and how independent you can be with that job that you've chosen. And since traditional, since things like photography, dancing, those are, and even DJing are not traditional jobs in Kenya or really even in Africa, a lot of parents would end up discouraging their children against this line of work. So since they're the ones who are paying the fees, it becomes like sort of an ultimatum. If you don't do this course, I'm telling you, you're not going to go to school. So we find that we have a lot of talented youth in Kenya. Some have this inherent talent in them that they may not necessarily need to go to school to make it better, but just a little bit of guidance. And there are those who just have this passion for it. They need to go to school for it so that they can become better. So you have those two types of people. Someone who does it as a hobby would go to the course that their parents want and still maintain this as a hobby and make it work. But that person who this is what they were depending on, this is what they had to do, that type of passion just ends there, and there's nothing they can do. They end up being a nurse or a teacher or what, and it disappears there.
And and I think you've brought up some really good points. Like, the other day I was in Accra last year, and there's this little girl called DJ Switch. She's like 11, 12 years old, and then she's a chick, and she's a phenomenon. And all children are like, wow, look at that girl, like she's changing how kids are doing it. And she's from Ghana, African little girl, and she's and it's for me, it's very inspiring watching what's happening now, even with our generations, even if they doesn't agree with their parents. The youth these days are not keeping quiet, which I think is really great. Don't keep quiet. It's time to open your mouths and say what needs to be done, because this world is yours. You know what I mean? After us, it's your world. So we need to fix things now for you guys to come up and have opportunities. I'll give it to you, Ndulla.
I think you're correct. What I'm happy about most nowadays is people have different platforms in which they get to get their voices out there. Like this kid right now, she's an inspiration to the others out there. So we are getting more people coming out, more people speaking, more people standing out in a way that we're getting more motivation to that we can do it, we can be them, we can become them. So it's encouraging also, and a word to all the people out there, all the females out there making, don't just get to that point and stay there, stay quiet. Remember where you came from. Remember that there are other younger versions of you struggling to get to where you are. So when you get there, you need to remember and shine the light, bring the light to the others out there.
Oh, beautiful. Give me goosebumps. Lovely. Victor, you want to jump in?
Yeah, just what Lisala and Natasha have spoken about is it's very interesting. Nowadays, when you want to see your artwork done, or you want to expose what you do in terms of media or artwork, theater, you'd have to go and knock doors, and just to get to see somebody who knows somebody who probably would introduce you to the big person. Nowadays, it's very different. We have this amazing platform that you can put your work on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, and it's seen by thousands of people, and you actually end up working for people that you've never seen, and your client base is really wide. The advantage that this gives now everybody is that it kind of puts us on the same pedestal. It's a platform for everybody. The best will be picked. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. And I think it's really an amazing thing. It's like the Gutenberg press, when not everybody could be able to read. It was such a revolution, So I'm thinking that everybody needs to leverage on this, and especially women, that feel that if once people see your work and people are able to see what you can do and you can be able to showcase, the right person will pick you based on the output and the content you have, not based on your gender. I think that's a big plus. We're living at a very exciting time that you don't have to know somebody, you just have to do great work and you get exposed.
Yeah, and it's not only gender, it's also race, it's everything else, right? So whenever
Exactly.
you're, because that's what I'm saying, like, because in terms of, women already, we're disadvantaged. And then when you talk about African women in the media, yes. I don't know where we are, but I think we're coming. And, and right now, Africa, it's on the map right now. There's a word I wanted to use, but I don't know about, but it's like, we're sexy right now, Africa right now. It's because the stories are focused on us. We are what the world wants to hear. They want to hear from us right now. So we need to take advantage of this opportunity. Tell our stories our way, by our people, not them coming here to tell our stories from their perspective. It's about us getting the camera, telling our stories from here, telling them what we do, who we are, how we interact, what our cultures are, so rather than them coming to, the outside world coming here to tell us what our story is. It has to change now, because we've forgotten our story for a long time. Africa's forgotten, and now we're remembering, and our oral tradition hasn't helped that either, because it kind of gets lost in our storytelling. But through film and storytelling, we need to go back and pull these oral stories that our grandfathers, grandmas, our ancestors told us from a long time ago that got forgotten. But we need to remember again who we are, where we came from, and what we represent, and we tell our stories our way. It's just my anyway, so we're coming towards, we've got 10 minutes left. So, we can still carry on, but if anyone wants to jump or add to what I said, you're free.
Yeah, but what I'll just add is we also get an opportunity for variety, because I look at Africa as a cultural melting point, melting pot. And we have influences from West Africa, East Africa, and all of a sudden, all of this is accessible. It's like there's a repository where you can go and get all of this, because all the artists are putting their content online. African women are doing amazing stuff. African men are doing amazing stuff. It's like a whole revolution, and it's our content, and there's no better time than now to take advantage of this, because this is the time. This is the time to make sure that our content, our work is seen, and our artwork is appreciated. Women, this is your opportunity to go beyond the biases and just say, this is what I can do, and you can put it out there, and I'm sure it will be picked up by the right people.
Great. Did you want to add anything?
Yeah.
Go, Natasha, go for it.
Yes, I believe that there's a lot of opportunities for women right now vis-a-vis what used to be there. There's been a lot of enlightenment, a lot of empowerment. Young girls young men and women can now come out strong and say, yes, I want to do dance, and this is what I want to do, and this is what I'm going to do. We need to encourage that, and it doesn't have to be verbal. It needs to be put in policies. It needs to be put into law. Things like basically a way of putting this even in a school curriculum, starting from primary school, going to high school, and at the university level. You realize that the curriculum in Kenya is that we do drama and festivals, those things. It's not being done academically. There are things you do as like a club or something. So this school is represented maybe doing drama, choral verses, and such like stuff. So when you get to the university, that is when now you do it academically. Things like cultural and performing arts, and this is where people now specialize and go into film, producing, journalism, and such like stuff. It would be a good idea to introduce this earlier on, cultural and performing arts as an academic course earlier on, rather than waiting for it to get to the university level. Because what this means is that if people don't choose this as a course at tertiary level, they randomly pick people who will do that course regardless of whether they chose it or not. So someone who doesn't have a passion for it ends up being given a course like cultural and performing arts, and you didn't do it earlier. That's not where your passion is. But if it's introduced earlier, it's better. It sets the stage, and even as you improve the quality of your art, by the time you get into at tertiary level, it's about honing those skills that are already existing rather than training new people afresh. Yeah, and yeah, that's my take.
No, I totally agree with you. Like that definitely has to change for things to change. You know, within these courses, like with how we do our education. But the thing that's happening right now is that even like with COVID and everyone's sort of rethinking education, like this is their opportunity to actually rethink how we do it because we're closed. You know, when we go back, this is when things can change. But what's happening is actually the arts and these courses, you know, those teachers are being made redundant. You know, they are more focusing on the science and the maths and all that, whereas the art side is actually being sidelined at the moment all across the globe, which is a bit of a sad thing because it's actually more important now more than ever that art speaks, I think, in my opinion. Yeah. So we've got like 5 minutes. I don't know, maybe everyone can just give their, you know, like a minute, you know, summary of, or whatever you think is important. You know, we have a platform right now, which is also going to be recorded and we can all share it later on. We have right now, you know, we have the opportunity with young girls watching, you know, women watching, whoever is watching, whoever our audience is, you know, to say whatever you think is important about, you know, this topic that we're discussing, you know, women, African women in the media, the future of African women in the media. So I will begin with, how about Natasha, you start for us.
Okay, the issue of, what mostly makes young women and young girls and women not be able to participate so much in this cultural and performing arts, media and all that, is because of the negative gender stereotypes attached to this kind of work, like you said, a cameraman is more of what is expected than camera woman. So these negative gender roles need to be fought on all levels. And I believe film will be the best way to do it because it's going to highlight where those negative gender stereotypes are hiding in language, the way we speak, in our vocabularies, in our laws and practice. I believe the film can be used as an avenue to like open our blind eyes and put that out there. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Natasha. I'm going to go to Victor. Oh, you want to go? Then Lisala, you want to go next? I was going to.
I can go next.
Go for it.
Oh, then Victor can do the
Yeah, then
pleasure.
Victor can end it. Yeah, because you have the pleasure of ending our session. We'll give you. Okay, go for it, Lisala. What's yours?
Okay. My word, like Victor has mentioned, Nadia, Yemi, what I would like to put out there for the young girls, these things are there, but we can see these girls making it. They are taking a chances on themselves. They are, what I like to say is, I'll not let my skirt weigh me down. Right. Yes, these things are there now. We need to push ourselves. We need to support ourselves. Nobody's going to be there to wake you up. Do this. You need to first decide for yourself. You want to do this. Take a chance on yourself. And for the world out there, I think they need to realize that we can be smarter, we can be hardworking, or we are talented, we are passionate. They just need to take a chance on us as we are taking a chance on ourselves. It's a two-sided coin. As much as I'm taking a chance on myself, you give me that opportunity and give me the chance to prove myself.
Great, and I look forward to seeing your film of how you're going to, we're starting with you. You begin filming these stories, okay? So we're putting that on you and we look forward to what you're going to do, you know, produce for us in the coming future, because you know it's on you. Yeah. Please do. Thank you, Lisala. So Victor, what's your summary, or give us your take on this? You know, I want to also, before you go, you know, like we've been having great feedback from our audience. So like with your point that you made right now, Steve Juma said to you, Lisala, great point. Women in the filming space must lead from the front and change the narrative. I like that. So this is one of our audience. And then women need to step up and prove the world otherwise by grabbing the available opportunities, being perceived to be male dominated. Conviction on the power of film to demystify the existing systemic bias on gender roles. You got a kudos, Natasha. So we're getting really nice comments from our audience, but you see now with our time, it's all coming to good point, Lisala, especially in refugee contests where resources are limited. That's another thing, right? Filming in the camps. I mean, you see, we had more time. We didn't even go down to, that's a whole other, because, you know, Natasha said rural and then urban, rural, and then we have, you know, refugee camps.
Refugee camps.
Which is a whole other world, right?
It's a different story.
Exactly. But since we're coming to the end, I mean, hopefully we can do another session, in the future and carry on this conversation, because there's a lot that needs to still be said and discussed, I think. So I'll give Victor the floor to give us his.
Okay.
Cheers.
Parting shot. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you for your patience. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I think art and media is such a big industry right now. I mean, around the world, and even in Africa, it's an emerging industry. A lot of people are making good money out of it. Mm-hmm. And it's only fair that we have a lot more women on board also making the same amount of money. Some already are, but we could have more. I think that can needs to change. But the thing that I'll say in finishing is that gender is not an encumbrance. It offers variety, and like they usually say, variety is a spice of life. So I'll leave it at that. I hope to have a lot more female artists.
Quick ending. I don't even know what to say. Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah, really. There you go.
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Variety is definitely the spice of life. So fantastic. I don't even know how to end on a better note than that, but we want to thank the audience. I want to thank you, my panelists. Really, I think we kind of lost Betty because she's filming in Embu, and the network issues is what caused us to be late, but we still do appreciate her presence and what she had to share about her take in the film industry and media. But I thank you all. I really enjoyed this conversation and learned a lot, and realized actually this should be the beginning of a long conversation to be had, where we start demystifying and undoing these things that we've been done in the past that needs to be undone or unlearned, or relearned and redone. So yes, so thank you for joining us for the FilmAid Film Festival Student Exhibition 2020. You can follow the hashtag FAF 2020 to get the latest news and all. We have a panel coming up tomorrow or on Saturday. We're going to be on CNN this weekend. So there's a whole lot of buzz. And then we have our actual film festival in November of this year. So hopefully we'll be convening again and having great discussions. Again, I thank you so much. My name is Natasha Elkington. And and thank you so much. Look forward to another session.
Thank you. Bye.
No technical difficulties. Right. No technical difficulties. Cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers. Yeah?
Cheers.
Okay, so I think we're logging off. I think. Still in Kenya. Let's just stay on until we're told to go off. Okay, great.
We have positive things from refugee camp, like telling the world that this is who we are, and not everyone in a refugee camp can tell their story. So I feel great, like being a voice to the voiceless.
It's like that light in the morning when the sun rises. It shines a lot and it kind of like illuminates all of the area. So by telling one story, I'm able to shine a light on that person. That's what I love about telling story. I kind of feel like I've brought someone from the dark and I've brought them to the light.
Great, cool. We're still live. So we're still on. Anyways, thank you again, everyone. So, and all our audience, I'm still talking because I'm